day 27 in our countdown towards the Stronghold Digital Mining investor presentation, which is scheduled to be held this Wednesday, March 29th at 11 o'clock in the morning. At least as of right now, that's what it's scheduled to be. So I have one question as it relates to what's going on. Now, maybe this is something that'll be preemptively discussed during the presentation itself. But if not, this would be the one question I'd ask. And I'm going to kind of read from a Twitter comment that I made earlier today. I'm increasingly anxious to hear the mathematical and or operational considerations that go into whether or not we import electricity from PJM versus using our in-house electricity. I can get behind whatever that decision happens to be once I actually understand how that decision is being made. This is by far my number one question. Are we actually importing electricity while idling the power plants, or are we powering the data centers with in-house electricity? So this kind of goes back to that fundamental question that has come up numerous times during this countdown, where it's kind of like, hey, we know that power prices, right, grid prices are really, really low. I mean, at one point, somebody on Twitter, gosh, I should cite who that individual is. Great catch there. Grid prices were at like $1, at least certainly in PJM, PP&L. So, we're talking about like sub $5 grid pricing. Is it fair to assume, given that type of environment, that yes, we're not going to take the power plants down and incur a $50,000 cycling cost? Understood. So is it plausible that we'll run the power plants on low power mode, maybe at 15, 20, 30% capacity, maybe have some of that electricity go into the data center, of course, but then import the rest from the PJM grid at these astronomically low prices and capture a bigger potential profit margin by doing so? And that's really the fundamental question that I've been wrestling with. I mean, from a mathematical standpoint, that makes sense, but maybe there are other considerations that I'm not necessarily, taking into consideration or thinking of. So that's really the question. Are we importing electricity from the grid? If so, great. What are we doing with the electricity that's being generated by the plants? Because the plants, at least Panther Creek, is certainly still operational. It's not like the plant's completely shut down. Are we routing that electricity into the data center as well, in addition to pulling in power from the PJM grid? Same thing as Scrubgrass. That's really the number one question on my mind. And I think it's a question that it's not just I have it. I think a lot of us in the community have that same question. So hopefully this is going to be addressed, and we're getting really close, right? Today's day 27, tomorrow's day 28, and I'm looking forward to the investor presentation on Wednesday, March 29th at 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.